involves giving the teenager access to things they want, providing they fulfil the agreement. This way, a compromise can be negotiated to satisfy everyone. Provide a backup consequence to discourage risky behaviour. This may be necessary because the rewards that a parent offer are sometimes overshadowed by those offered from peer-related activities, and hold a follow-up review session.
Last time you went to ring me, I think Stephanie was on the phone, wasn't she?
Yeah.
All right. Do you think we can get around that any better?
Tell Stephanie not to go on the phone at that particular time, so in case I'm trying to get through.
Holding a follow-up review session is useful to see how the routine worked. If everything worked out fine, it might be possible to relax the rules a little next time. However, if it didn't work out, it's back to the drawing board to come up with a better plan.
Parents often get caught up in arguments about how risky a particular behaviour really is. Parents who try to argue with their teenager without good information often find themselves either pulling rank or saying something like, "As long as you live in this house, you'll do as I say," or throwing their hands up in the air in despair and saying, "Oh, do what you want, but you'll be sorry." These strategies only cause resentment and frustration.
We've just seen a routine for dealing with risky behaviour that includes planning ahead, talking about risks and concerns, selecting risk reduction strategies, rewarding appropriate behaviour, providing a backup consequence for risky behaviour, and holding a follow-up session to review how well the routine worked.
Last week, Anthony, you came in and were discussing your concerns about Jamie and Jamie coming home late, and you were really wanting to, sounded as if you were wanting to deal with that differently. Before we begin looking at your plan, can you tell me what were your goals in dealing with that situation?
Well, really trying to remain calm in that situation, rather than shouting and getting really upset and escalating the whole situation to a fight like had been happening before.
Okay.
And to really make sure that we had, Jamie and I, a workable plan where she understood what my concerns were, and we're working on a plan that would manage what I perceive to be the risks and in that setting.
Okay, well let's review the plan and see how you think you went in achieving those goals. What parts of your plan did you think went well? Were you pleased with?
Well, I reckon the planning went pretty well. We talked about the planning, together, and came up with that aspect of it. And I think, that we were clear on what had to be done. So I thought that went really well. The whole anticipatory sort of thing, the planning, she did that well, and worked with her on that.
Okay, that's great. So, was there anything about your plan that didn't go so well? You did mention that some of it didn't go as to plan.
Yeah, it wasn't foolproof. She came home late.
All right.
Later than I'd expected, and that we'd planned, even though we'd done the planning. And the problem was she didn't sort of tell me in advance. She changed the movie time. We'd agreed on movie time that she was going to see, and then she changed the time when she got there.
Right.
It wasn't entirely her fault, but the thing is, they changed the time they're going to see. So that put the whole plan out then, and so consequently she came home later than I was expecting her to come home.
Okay, so if you could just take me through what happened when she did come home later than you planned. How did you deal with that?
Well, hard to stay calm, but I'd really sort of was practicing that, sort of not blowing the stack, listening to what she had to say. And I thought, after I said to her, well, you came home later, I made it clear that she'd come home later than we'd agreed. And I tried to stay calm, so well, let's look at the plan and where did it go wrong this time, to review between the two of us what had happened.
Well, that sounds as if you were able to deal with that in a way that's different to what we were talking about last week, where it sort of began and ended with you losing your stack, as you say. So I'm just wondering, is there anything that you would do differently then when you think about how you dealt with it on Saturday?
Well, I think with it's the planning. There were some parts of the plan we hadn't really considered.
Okay, right, okay. So in thinking about what you would do differently next time, what might be, you know, the steps in your plan that you would want to spend a little bit more time thinking about?
Well, you know, like we'd planned about, you know, if you're running late to call.
Right.
So that I would know and we wouldn't be anxious about her arrival.
Right.
But what we hadn't planned was, well, what happens when you get there at the start of an event and then the plans have changed then, you see.
Right.
So they went to see a later movie, as I said before, that hadn't planned. Like that would have been, I was saying to her, that would be the time and she should have called me, but we hadn't factored that into the plan originally.
Okay. At what point did you find yourself able to talk with her about this alternative step of making sure you call even if the arrangements change? Was there a point in time where you were able to have that discussion with her so that both of you did stay as calm as possible?
Well, it wasn't, you know, immediate because my first concern was you're late, and then, you know, she got very defensive about the fact that she was late. So there was a little bit of upset there initially, but, you know, sometime later when, you know, after dinner, I thought, well, you know, we've just got to solve it. We, you know, had agreed that, you know, I'd try and stay calm and we would solve the problem through negotiation, you know, have a discussion about my concerns. And so we did. I said, you know, I have my concerns. You know, can we just sit down and just go through it again? You know, I'm pleased she approached most of what was required. You know, I told her that. I was really happy that she'd done that bit.
Well done.
But I felt that, you know, there were still things we needed to get, we weren't sure on if it was going to work.
Okay, so from what you've just said there, I'm picking up that one of the important parts of our plan was as much as possible to be able to acknowledge, you know, what she's doing well when she's doing it well. It sounds as if you were able to be quite positive with her, but at the same time raise your concern by going back to the plan. So well done for that.
Yeah.
So was there a consequence because she was late?
Well, she didn't want to talk about it first at all. You know, when we first came home, I guess I had a bit of tension about it, knowing that I'd probably want to review the plan. And at the end of our discussion, I mean, she felt, you know, I have to have another lecture and I have to have another talk. But then we sat down and talked about it. I think, you know, just having to work through it again and spend time, take some time out.
Okay, so what did she miss out on by having to spend that time with you?
Well, after dinner we were going to watch the movie. There's a movie on telly that night,
Okay.
and we're going to sit down. But I said it's very important just to get it cleared now, rather than let it go on. So she had to, you know, we sat around together, dining table, and got it sorted.
So let's then take it one step further. Going out to the movies with her friends on a Saturday afternoon was something that you said was it was still a risk, but it was a lower level risk. You've mentioned to me that there is a nighttime party that's coming up that Jamie really wants to go to. Would you use this plan for that event, which is giving you a bit more concern?
Yeah, I think I'd take the same approach because
Okay.
you know, the risks are still there, and it is a bigger deal, as you say, than the movie she went to last week.
Okay.
And yes, we'd need to implement, I think, the same thing and go through it again before she gets to that party, make it real clear.
So that's going to be a big event, but from what you're saying, the steps that have been outlined for you in this plan is something that you can see yourself using for this bigger event.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.